Will Liverpool finally win their first ever Premier League title this week, or Manchester City's power reach its peak? Let's talk about that. Hey everyone, in this video that is FYW, I hope you guys are all doing super well. And of course, this is a huge Premier League match week. This is recorded before Chelsea versus Manchester City, so this is assuming that Liverpool have not won the title quite yet and they still have to beat Man City for it. Which, how harsh is that? If Liverpool win this, they get to lift their first ever Premier League trophy in the stadium of one of their biggest rivals. Although it is in front of no one. But I mean, at the Etihad, that was guaranteed.
Ooh, you're hard showing off.
And of course, if you do enjoy Premier League content, I will be going over every fixture this Premier League match week with every team. If you do enjoy Premier League content, do subscribe to this channel. It helps me out so much, and do follow Fincast Football on Instagram. I am trying to grow that. Aston Villa versus Wolverhampton Wanderers is going to be the first fixture. Now, I am going to put down my prediction of 2-1 in Wolverhampton Wanderers' favour, just purely because if you do look at the likes of Wolves, I mean, defensively, they've done a solid job this Premier League season. I like their midfield, and I do think they have one of the deadliest trios up front in the Premier League, if not the world. I mean, think about it. Jota, Jimenez, and Adama Traore, they can be so unstoppable. And Adama Traore literally is a video game character. When you customize your own character, you just make him as powerful as possible and you make him look as cool as possible. So it is going to be a 2-1 prediction in Wolves' favour. I do think Aston Villa do stand somewhat of a chance, especially if McGinn hits top form. If the likes of Grealish hits top form, I do think they stand a chance, especially if they can put Pepe Reina in goal. He can be a deciding factor. But just between you and me, guys, if Aston Villa do stay up, which they do need to get some wins if they do want to stay up, because at the moment it's looking very likely that they will get relegated. But I mean, whether they get relegated or not, between you and me, I think they're still going to lose Jack Grealish, because he is that good a player, and Aston Villa trying to hold on to Jack Grealish, it's a bit like a chocolate pot trying to hold hot coffee. It's not going to last long. Next fixture is going to be between Watford and Southampton. Now, looking at the likes of Watford, I mean, in my opinion, it is a very below average, if not an average team in the Premier League. I don't think they're even a mid-table team anymore. I think they do really need to upgrade some quality in their team. That's not to say that they have some really good, really high potential players in their team that could do well, but as a total, I don't see it as a very good team. Although they have had some really good moments this Premier League season. But I do think Southampton will get a 2-1 win over this Watford team, purely because if you do look at the likes of Southampton, they've really been in good form this Premier League season. They really have at least picked up on form. Danny Ings having pretty much his best ever Premier League season. He is looking so unstoppable. And in terms of Southampton's defense, although it is not the best, I do think it is good enough to prevent Watford from getting the win, because Watford really have struggled to score this Premier League season. Palace versus Burnley. Now, I think this will be a very good team. Of course, it is Crystal Palace, the team that got a huge loss versus Liverpool, versus Burnley, a team that got a huge loss against Man City. I mean, I really do like Burnley's defense. I think it is a solid defense, and I really do rate Nick Pope. But versus Man City, it almost looked like they needed the Pope. I do think this will go Burnley's way though, but as I said, it could go either way. I'm going to give Burnley a 1-0 win over Crystal Palace. Since we've come back, I do think Crystal Palace's defense has looked really good, and attack. But versus Liverpool, they absolutely crumbled. Their defense fell apart, and they really couldn't provide any balls forward for Jordan Ayew to do anything with. So I do have to rate Burnley in this, just because I think defensively they are a bit more solid, and that really is my deciding factor, is the fact that Burnley's defense is stronger. It's really the only two things separating these teams. Brighton versus my boys Manchester United is next. Now, looking at the likes of Manchester United, they just got a huge win versus Sheffield United, and I think everything's working in United's favour for the rest of the season. Some of their next games, or their next 5 games, is against bottom 7 opposition in the Premier League. They are looking in a good position to end up in a Champions League place by the end of the season, and I think versus the likes of Brighton, they will get a 2-0 win. And so Anthony Martial just got the first hat-trick for Manchester United in 7 years. So well done for breaking that record, Martial. That is really a good thing for United. We really are starting to score more. So I do think that we can get that over Brighton. But looking at Brighton's team though, I think defensively they have potential to be very strong. We've seen that, especially since they've returned. They did beat Arsenal, which is of course a huge result, and they did draw against Leicester though. So I mean, they're not totally out of it. Those are 2 good results against 2 really good teams. Although, I mean, Leicester City have really just struggled to come back since football started, and Arsenal, it's pretty much the worst ever Premier League team. But yeah, to not give at least 2-0 to Manchester United would be an absolute crime in my opinion, because I mean, attack is looking super strong, and I mean, there's so much pleasure and joy from watching Bruno Fernandes and Pogba work together. It's as much joy as being a 13-year-old boy left at home alone. Don't read too much into that, I'm 19. Bournemouth versus Newcastle is next. Now, I think this will be very similar to Crystal Palace versus the likes of Burnley, just in terms of it being very close and the ability that it could go either way. Bournemouth, their defense has been shocking this Premier League season, and I genuinely do think that they will get relegated. And looking at Newcastle, their attack has not been the best. They do need to pick up on it. They, of course, in my opinion, won't get relegated this Premier League season. I don't think they're at much risk of it. But yeah, this really is the worst attack versus the worst defense in my opinion. So, you know what, I will give 1-0 Newcastle's way. As I said, it could really go either way though. And as I said, bad defense, bad attack. It's like the worst collaboration of all time, next to Batman versus Superman. Arsenal versus Norwich is next. Now, genuinely, this could also go either way in the context of how bad Arsenal have been. The fact that they've got so many players injured. Their defense is in a horrible shape at the moment. Structurally, I don't think Arsenal are strong, and their best goalkeeper is injured, probably one of their best players this season. So I really do have to feel somewhat sorry for Arsenal. But I do think they will still get a pretty good win over Norwich, although Norwich are bottom of the table. I do think defensively that is where Norwich will struggle. I see absolutely no shape in Norwich's defense, and versus the likes of Aubameyang and Lacazette, that's going to be pretty hard to face. So I'm going to go for a massive 3-1 win to Arsenal. I mean, I never give Arsenal a bunch of credit. I always give them quite a lot of crap. So Arsenal, let me give you my first ever compliment. My camera cut out and I can't remember where it cut out from. Everton versus Leicester City is next. Now, this is also a result that could genuinely go either way. I think it is going to be a close one at the end of the day. I am going to give Leicester City a slight win. I am going to give them a 2-1 win. Now, looking at Everton, though, they did get a draw versus Liverpool, which they are one of only 3 teams in the Premier League this season to take points away from Liverpool. They did only get a slight win over Norwich though, which is slightly worrying. You would hope that they would, you know, try and reach for more. Leicester City have only gotten draws since they've come back to the Premier League. So you know what, they really still haven't hit the mark quite yet. So in that regard, I do think that it will be close. But at the end of the day, I just see a lot of pace in that Leicester City side. And in my opinion, I do think that pace can overcome strength. Although don't tell that to Mo Salah and Sergio Ramos. West Ham versus Chelsea is next. Now, you know what? I am going to give Chelsea a massive win in this because this will be on the 1st of July. And you might be wondering,
Finn, what's so special about the 1st of July?
Well, Timo Werner and Ziyech are going to be joining this Chelsea team on the 1st of July. My only concern is I'm not sure if they will be playing this game. I'm not sure if they will be playing versus West Ham because they would, of course, just gotten there. But it still is very likely. But you know what? Even without the likes of these two players, I do think that Chelsea can really get a huge win versus West Ham. I'm going to give a massive 4-0 win to Chelsea, and I know that's even shocked myself, but you know what, I do think maybe West Ham could do well defensively versus them, because I'm not going to lie, defensively I don't think they were bad versus Spurs, and I do think Fabianski did really good in goal. But you know what, we have seen Chelsea do really good versus teams like West Ham. I mean, we saw them get a massive win versus Burnley in the beginning of the season. So you know what, I do really think that Chelsea have potential to really dominate this game, especially if they get those 2 new players in. I don't know, man, it's just a gut feeling I have. Or Mexican food. Sheffield United versus Tottenham Hotspurs is next. Now, you know what? This could potentially be a very, very close one. Of course, Sheffield United did get a pretty disappointing loss versus Manchester United. They didn't really create anything at all. But Tottenham Hotspurs, I mean, at the end of the day, I think that they will get this win versus Sheffield United. It won't be a huge game. I think it will only be a 2-0 win to the likes of Tottenham Hotspurs. And there is apparently huge news that Ndombele might never play for Spurs again because he never wants to play under Mourinho again, which is a pity because, you know what, Mourinho, he is the chosen one. But at the end of the day, I think there is a lot of quality in the Spurs team. They really do just need to pick up on form. And they created a lot of chances versus the likes of West Ham. And they could have gotten a monstrous win. But Lucas Moura didn't quite hit the mark. But on his day, Lucas Moura is actually surprisingly and shockingly good. But I don't think they'll get a huge win over Sheffield United. Because defensively, I think Sheffield United, when all their defenders are in, and when their main goalkeeper Dean Henderson is in, they can be unstoppable. And you know what? That is why they've done so well this Premier League season, is because of their defence. Now, they are playing some really good top teams towards the end of the season, and I really hope they don't drop out of the top 10 because they do deserve that. The big game is next. Manchester City versus Liverpool, the final game in match week 32. This is a monstrous game. Now, looking at the likes of Manchester City, I really do think that the 5 substitution rule will really work in their favour, just because they do have a lot more depth than Liverpool. But saying that, Liverpool, I think, will put absolutely everything into this game. It is a top rival, so therefore, you know, they will already have that kind of competitiveness versus a top rival. But I mean, if they win this game, they could literally win their first ever Premier League title. This is assuming City beat Chelsea, which I'm assuming they did. And this is a huge game for Liverpool. And I mean, let's be honest, the stars are lining up. Liverpool to win their first title in 30 years. Of course, there was this whole virus thing stopping it, so there was a lot of doubt if the season would continue. And now Liverpool could potentially lift the trophy in front of one of their biggest ever rivals. I think this is a huge chance for Liverpool. They're going to absolutely give it their all. But I'm going to give this one to Manchester City.
What? What the fuck?
Just because of the 5 sub rule. Please don't attack me, Liverpool fans. At the end of the day, I really do think the 5 substitution rule is that strong that Man City could use it to their ability to beat the likes of Liverpool. I know that might sound crazy, but I really do think the squad depth of Man City is what will lead them to winning this game. Yeah.
I'm in danger!
So guys, I hope you did end up enjoying my match week predictions. This channel has been doing semi-well as of late, so please do subscribe to this channel. We are so close to 750 subs. We are inching closer and closer, so please do subscribe to this channel. And at the end of the day, if you do enjoy FIFA content, there's my RB Leipzig career mode and something YouTube has recommended for you. I hope you guys all enjoy the rest of your day, and please do subscribe if you did enjoy this content. Man City, please beat Liverpool.